Hello, and welcome to my video. This one is about dealing with stress. So quickly, I wanted to just touch base on stress and the different ways that we can deal with it, the healthy ways and the unhealthy ways that we can look at dealing with stress. So what exactly stresses us out these days? So I just pretty much wanted to mention what comes to my head. So you've got bickering with someone and then it turns into a fully blown fight. What about stressing because your day is not going to plan? Stressing on someone who is stressing on you. Stressing because someone made you feel negative. And because of the small stresses, they can begin to build up into one big hairball. What other stresses do we have? Stresses to do with time limits, financial issues, stressing about not doing a proper job. And like I said, with the hairballs, there are so many small problems lumped into a group that makes it feel like it's too hard to make things better. Feeling like your mind is cluttered with these bad little niggly problems, and the consequences of all or any of these things could eventually be a fully blown outburst filled with violence, anger, rage, fury, leaving us with yet another bad memory. What are some of our coping mechanisms that many have used in the past or many are still using? Well, what are some of the unhealthy ways that we can deal with stress? And the first one that comes to my mind is cigarettes. How does it make us feel when we have a smoke? Well, a smoke lasts for 5 minutes? So within that time, that drag of nicotine can give us that utmost feeling of release or calm. That feeling lasts for that exact 5 minutes, and then after our smoke, we feel that tension starting to come back in again. What are the consequences of smoking full time? Well, we all know you've got cancer, you've got diseases of the lungs, heart, throat, kidneys, liver, other organs, not to mention other illnesses that are related to it. Emphysema. Let's not forget the effects that it has on those around us. What about music? Is music unhealthy to use as a coping mechanism for us to de-stress? Well, let's take a look into that for 1 second. So I remember when I was playing some old school metal, someone mentioned that it made them feel like they wanted to punch someone out. Although with me, it made me feel pumped to work or to do a workout at the gym. So take a note of how certain music or lyrics makes you feel. I know a few of the songs back from the 70s and 80s makes me feel so sad that I want to, just sit there and cry. But for others, it makes them feel calm and peaceful. So if it does make you feel at peace or even just happier, or if it makes you feel sad, uptight or lost, the choice really is up to you, because different music affects different people differently. So whatever makes you feel unhealthy, like on the negative side, then maybe it's not the right song for you. Turning to drugs or medication, how can it be unhealthy? Well, we pretty much all know the answer to that. The first way to it being unhealthy is when it changes your mentality and your spirit, and you lose focus on what's right or wrong. A lot of the time it can make you do things that you'd never do if you weren't under that influence. The second way it's unhealthy is because of the toll that drugs or medication can take on your physical body. Our bodies can't take on certain chemical elements if they're constantly induced within us. It's not natural. Sometimes we might overdose on a type of chemical that can end us immediately or make us end up in hospital. Alcoholism. I love talking about this one because apparently, even though I never drank every day, but because I can and have the capacity to become a binge drinker, I am classed as an alcoholic, because an alcoholic is someone who abuses alcohol, and that's abuse, to binge drink. Therefore, I have to give up drinking, and just recently too, I have. How did it feel for me to give up drinking? Pretty much easy, because I didn't need it all the time. But what about for those of us who use it as a medication device? Those who need it to mask those horrible feelings that they would have felt without it, and they're addicted to it on a daily. Well, we all know where it ends up for us, and spiritually as well as physically. Now, what's another way that we use, what's another coping mechanism that we use? How about aggressively verbally stating your opinion? We've all been there. I'm pretty good at it, and it's not a good thing. We, shouldn't be proud of that. How effective is it to be aggressive verbally? Well, take a look at the things that we say, which are usually mean and very hurtful. But not only that, what about the tone? How loud can we get? It can become a screaming match. And when the opponent, and it becomes like two opposing parties in a boxing ring pretty much, with the mouths going and everything, like a war. Some of the swear words that come through are words that even aren't in the dictionary yet. This type of behaviour is usually one that comes off as being called abuse. I shouldn't be laughing. It's violent, and even if we have rightfully been hurt, the way we voice our injustice, our idea of that injustice is vital if we want to be heard. And yelling it out, swearing it, and being mean with what we're saying is not healthy. What's another way that people use to de-stress? Sex. Sex can be a way to de-stress. When can it become unhealthy? Well, probably if it's hurting someone else. I was thinking about pornography and how people think it's harmless. But when you think about porn and the reality of it, and I'm only going to touch a little bit on this subject, I'll talk fully about it another day, but the thought of having sex with someone else can also be offensive. And I'll just leave it at that. Now, another reaction of stressing out is going into a depressive state, isolating yourself, thinking depressive thoughts, feeling like there's nothing to live for in this world, going into that hermit mode. I myself struggle with this mental illness every day. Okay, I get depression. It's a very strong one to deal with, and the fight to stay healthy and happy is real. Speaking about isolation, which increases our sense of loneliness, this feeling is depressing to many of us. Hence, there is that heightened amount of statistical depression worldwide amongst us because of the lockdowns and the quarantines during COVID. So just saying, is it healthy also to block someone who has been stressing you out? Usually it is, to avoid arguments. But if you're doing it to intentionally hurt that person, then it's not really healthy at all. And even if you aren't causing pain to others, but you're still causing pain to yourself, that in itself is a negative, energetic, vibrational emotion, and actually it's not a good thing at all. It's not good. Now, what about playing video games, watching YouTube, or watching a movie to de-stress? Just take note that I remember when my son was playing, this would have been 15 years ago, when he was playing Call of Duty with my nephew. And he said he woke up, he had nightmares about zombies, and he never played that game again. So I guess we've got to make sure that what we watch is making us feel happy. Then there's all-out violence, okay? This is one way that people use to cope with stress, which is violence, getting into a fight. I remember hearing stories about my dad getting into pub fights, street brawls, and beating up anyone who made him angry. Well, apparently he was a force to be reckoned with. But then I heard about people getting knocked out with one hit. They called it a king hit. And it was when you were totally knocked out with one hit. And the thing with a king hit is that a lot of people die from it. Yes, violence is something we all know the consequence of. There are so many other ways to react negatively to stress, but I reckon I've touched on most of the main ones. And along with negative reactions to stress comes consequences that could affect not only your future, but the future of those around us and of those that we love. That's why I wanted to think about healing ways to react to stress and bring out some good ideas for us to think about. The first one I like is chocolate, because that's like my favorite food right now, and chocolate actually does have a chemical in it that brings out more serotonin level, which is the happy chemical within us. So yeah, definitely chocolate is on my number one list. But I love music. Music and I go way back to my childhood. Most of us have our favorites, and the way it makes us feel can bring a sense of happiness, a good nostalgic feeling in so many different ways. It can inspire feelings of comfort, emotional strength, love, confidence, justice, peace, harmony, and forgiveness. Music can inspire the soul when it is received in a good way. Words can heal, and a tune can bring a harmonious feeling. Something as wonderful as a beat can uplift the soul, and it can give us energy. What about medication or drugs? So I was speaking about it in the unhealthy way, but you know, there's also the prescribed medication, but not only that. That does help many of us with our illnesses, you know, Panadols or whatever it is that we need to help us with our illnesses. But what about certain herbal remedies? This is where essential oils are a godsend. Have you ever looked up about herbal remedies? Because believe it or not, the aroma from certain plants can help to soothe us by relieving our nervous system. And there are so many out there that we can look up and we can use. There are superfoods that can help with anxiety and depression. And there are teas that we can drink as well, because the effect that they have on our nerves and on our brain system actually helps to release a lot of that tension. And I remember hearing a story about a girl who would get tremendous pain during her time of the month. As a teenager. So her mother would actually give her a glass of port to help numb that pain, and she would have a hot bath along with it, and that would help to just ease it a little bit. We can add bath salts, oils to our bath, and we have an array of herbal teas out there. Do your research. It's an amazing thing to find out about. There's so much education out there. One thing I actually didn't take note of, but it's just come to my head right now, is meditation. So meditation is all about relaxing the mind, and when you meditate, you want to just release all that negative thought pattern and try and think of positive vibrations. That's pretty much the best thing about meditation, and that's pretty much how prayer works as well, where you try and bring in good thoughts to manifest a good outcome in whatever it is that you're thinking about. What about de-stressing just by sitting down and speaking to someone about it? You know, when you can honestly speak about your worries without being judged, without opinion, amazing insight can be accomplished. There's that saying that goes, a problem shared is a problem halved. And isn't it beautiful to know that without anger or judgment in the way, which can blind us sometimes, we can actually open up to possible solutions. It gets easier to iron out the problems, and we can see opportunities for healing. And communicating with people can be so much broader in the sense that we now have the internet, and it links us to our friends and family that are overseas or in another state where we can't actually physically see them. So we can use the internet to stay in contact with those that we can't talk to physically, but online it is now possible. So remember that, because we all pretty much have some type of way of messaging people online, and sometimes we forget and we think about people, oh, I wonder how they are. Well, pretty much they probably are a message away, and just a quick hello is all it needs to just start that nice conversation up again. If we can be assertive and state our opinion when it comes to verbally expressing how we feel about our stress, then at least we've aired it out, and especially to somebody that we are having some sort of stress with. If we're responded to with an understanding reply, then isn't that good? and it leaves us feeling a sense of relief that at least we've got that problem off of our shoulder. Talking about healing, and I don't know if you're as old as I am, I'm 47, but remember that song, Sexual Healing? Yep, sex can release those happy chemicals, and when you orgasm and you release those chemicals, you can provide a huge sense of release. I just wanted to note that. And of course, you've got to do it right though, and not in that toxic way, because along with most addictions, the release is temporary, and it usually comes with a pretty negative consequence. But speaking of physical release and physically releasing endorphins, what about using exercise to de-stress? There's so many options out there. Going to the gym, going for a walk, going for a run, going for a swim, shooting hoops, playing a game of something like tennis, soccer, basketball. Getting into any type of recreational activity can actually help your heart to beat faster and release that tension, increase your happy chemicals that are naturally released into the body when you do that physical activity. Dance to your favorite music, you know, even if you're by yourself, who cares? Put the headphones on, sing. If it makes you feel good, then why not? There was that song called Singing in the Rain, where the words go, I'm singing in the rain. And just so you know, a lot of people actually get depressed when it rains. So why not try singing in the rain? And the rest of the song goes, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. Just laughing and singing in the rain. And why did it make him feel glorious again? Because he felt free. He let go, and the singing helped him to do that. And I think it was also in love. I'm not sure. But you can be in love with love. Okay. What about that song by Pharrell Williams, Happy? So I was actually looking at that song, and that song speaks of being happy as being happy as a commitment to the soul, as if it's a responsibility for all of us to remain happy. I've never looked at happiness as a responsibility, because when you think about happiness, you're thinking about that energy that we emit out into the atmosphere when we are in that vibration. Okay, and it is an energy vibe, scientifically as well. And isn't it a good thing to have an actual responsibility to be happy, because it creates a good atmosphere for those around us? And for me, that means my kids and my family, who are my number one in my life. I've watched some really heartwarming movies in the past. There are so many good ones still coming out that speak about the bad things that we go through in life, and how we go through them, and how we get through them in a happy ending. The first movie that came to my mind was Forrest Gump, and how he'd been through so many ups and downs as a disabled person, yet he had a heart with pure and simple ambition. And when we watch reruns of these types of movies, they captivate our heart, motivate us to do well in our life, and they remind us that we're not going through these things alone, that others have been there before. YouTube has a plethora of positive videos. There are so many motivational vids that you can listen to, and you can gain positive thoughts from. We can't forget the appreciation that we gain from those. And what about art? What about the appreciation that we get from artwork? Art such as artwork, paintings, photography, poetry, all types of art can take us to a place of deep thought, where we can look at things in a new perspective and take our mind off that deep, dark place that we were. But it will take us into a piece of art can tell a whole story, and we can appreciate the wise intellect of an artist and their view of life. We can even become more creative within our own lives and use art as a way of expressing our feelings, and that can actually help to de-stress. there are certain ways that you can deal with stress during the day, but regardless, make sure it's not toxic, but that it's healing and making it better for you. I just wanted to end it with the words from Pharrell in his song called Happy, because it's got a really cool message, and it's about using happiness as a strength, as a shield against negativity. And these are some of the words that he's written. I'm just going to read it out. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm on a hot air balloon that can go to space with the air like I don't care, baby, by the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. And I like that part, because a room without a roof means that the rain can come through, but also a room without a roof is where there are no limitations to your uprising. So I'll continue on with that song. Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. And if you stand strong and proud in your truth, then that in itself is happiness. Because I'm happy, clap along if you know what happiness is to you. So like I said again, stand strong in what you believe is the truth and what makes you happy, because it is a strong shield. And going back to the song, because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. And this second verse I love. It says, here come bad news, talking this and that, which is like if you've got haters who are talking about you and, you know, saying crap about you. The second one says, well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. So he's saying, yeah, go on, talk crap about me. Go for it. Give it all your best. And then the third line says, well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. What he's stating there is, you can say as much as you want about me that's bad, but just to warn you, I'm going to be fine no matter what you've got to say to me. And then lastly, in that second verse, he says, no offense to you, don't waste your time. So what he's saying is, just kindly there, that I don't want to offend you for mouthing off about me, but you're really kind of wasting your time on what you're saying about me. And why? And then he goes into the chorus, because I'm happy. And so being happy is the best way to de-stress. And when I thought about that song, I thought about the lyrics and the real meaning to that. And it's just like that Don't Worry, Be Happy song as well. De-stressing, the unhealthy ways, the healthy ways. There are so many different ways that you can de-stress. Look it up. There is a plethora out there of essential oils, herbal remedies, music, exercise, movies, so much advice on it, YouTube. So get out there and use what we have available. Make it a responsibility to yourself not to take on what is negative, but make it a responsibility to take on what is happiness, because that will create good vibrations in your environment and for those around you that you love, especially for your children as well. And you want them to be happy. And if you're happy, it's going to come off onto them as well. So thank you for listening to my vid, and I hope you have a lovely, happy, peaceful day, and all the best. And I'll speak another time. Bye-bye.